Hi guys, Carrie here. Today we're going to be doing inner joins. I'm using Apothecary still, as per usual, like in all my previous videos. Let's just review what we're doing. Right now I'm going to join users and orders. Let's explain each table, just to recap. Feel free to pause and review either of those videos if you would like. Okay, let's see what happens here. What MySQL doesn't like about this is that there are the same entity in each of these tables, so if you don't specify the parent of that entity, or that attribute rather, in which they share, it will complain. Right now it's giving us repeats, and what might be more obvious is if I went like that and see how it is repetitive. That's because we need to go, well, okay, when every time we see user ID on the orders, we only give it one time for the user ID on the users. And we've eliminated our repeats. Now, the point of this join is so that we can get useful information. So I'm going to go ahead and include the order ID, as well as the name, email, and then from order line, the order date. That is our join. Let's look at our other two tables. Eventually I'm going to combine all of these tables, but we'll go like 2 by 2 first, just to step into it slowly. And let's explain order line. Feel free to pause the video and investigate those for clarity purposes. Item number, item ID, or item number, they're the same thing, are the shared attribute. And because item number or item ID is the shared attribute, we're going to say on whatever items calls it, they call it the item ID, order line calls it the item number. I like to add in all the other information last, just because all this extra stuff kind of blinds me while I'm messing with my queries. So now we have our functional inner join for items and order line. Now let's join all of these tables. So the information that I want is the order number. I could also call it order ID, that's fine. Let's include user ID, why not? Let's include item ID. Let's include order, no, that actually doesn't have its own ID. So these are all of our IDs. Just for clarity purposes, I'm going to need to specify which table to get this from. Since orders table calls it order ID, I'm going to switch that back to order ID. And then after order date, I would also like the item name, I would like the quantity, and I would like the selling price. Let's see, did I include email? I did. Okay. Now is where we're going to start to get tricky. So this is just all the data I want. So as I said before, this is usually like what I'll delete and then just add it in later. But that's okay. So we have from, it's just like algebra. You can use parentheses when you want something to be done first. I want this to be done first. Inner join order line on items, just like we did, where item ID is the same as order line, item number, close parentheses. We can now consider this to be sort of like its own table, and we think of it like, well, it has every single attribute that order line and items has. So when we inner join this with the next table, orders, we can use anything that orders shares with either of these tables. Orders doesn't share anything with item ID, but it does share order number with order line. It just calls it something different. Close parentheses. Now, this is officially its own table. Anything that this table has is going to be shared with the final table, which we haven't included users yet. So whatever user shares with this table is what we're going to join it by. Inner join table users. And orders also has a user ID. And this is what we were trying to go for. I wanted to see the email from the user table, the order date from the order line table, the name from the item table, and the quantity and the selling price from the order line table. Or maybe this was from the order line, or the, orders table. Let's see, explain orders. Yeah, so this is from orders table. Now, I wanted to include all of those IDs just for clarification purposes, but to be honest, they're really not necessary, so I'm just going to delete them. And really what I wanted here was the quantity and the selling price, and then I kind of want to compare it like, okay, what has the highest thing, who ordered it, when did they order it, stuff like that. So we can add in another attribute that we're calculating right now. It's kind of like a temporary calculated attribute. And what I want to do is multiply the quantity times the selling price. Typically we multiply the amount of stuff times however much it cost. That's the same thing as we're doing here. And we get this extra column. Notice how MySQL gave it its own title, quantities times selling price. I don't like that title. I'm going to call it total. Although I'm going to actually call it total, not toda. But when I do that, I'm going to add in something else. Notice how we have all of these ugly decimal points. If we round that up to a whole number, we can totally do that, but because this is currency, I want to give it 2 decimal points, which I can do so here. So that is inner join. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and feel free to watch my other videos.